Hey everyone, it's Tom here from SOCO Sales Training, and thank you for joining us. I am so excited to have with us today two of our best customers, and I don't just say that to, everybody, two of our best customers and two good friends, also from Vancouver, and that's a whole story unto itself. So we've got Cynthia here, and we've got Tommy, great name, Tommy, from AltCoin Fantasy. And thanks for dropping by, you guys.
Thanks for having us. We're thrilled to be here.
Well, we are thrilled to have you here, and I'm really excited to kind of talk about your business, right? So AltCoin Fantasy, they're in the cryptocurrency space, blockchain, so this is something that's kind of new for a lot of people. Not everybody knows what it is. So can you tell us a little bit more about AltCoin Fantasy?
Sure, yeah. So we are a crypto trading simulation game that focuses on helping people learn about cryptocurrencies in general and then learn and practice crypto trading because, cryptocurrencies, as you mentioned, is so new. And for a lot of people who are getting into the space, just as stocks was new, in the 1900s, right. This is also a new topic. And for people wanting to learn to invest, the space is very volatile, it's very technical and complex, so people need to be guided very easily into the space and in a way that they won't risk losing their own money, which is basically what happened in 2017 with the market kind of going down significantly.
Right.
And so we want to help people not lose their life savings.
Right.
And we do that through making it fun by people playing in our game. And then, they actually even get to win crypto so that they can start trading with.
Start trading for real, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I love that.
I kind of like democratizing access to finance and to financial education for anyone and everyone around the world.
So I love that, right? So, it's sort of like we hear about cryptocurrency. It's like a real buzzword. Like everyone's talking about it. Everyone's talking about crypto. First it was blockchain in general, and now it's like, crypto, but it's like, what exactly is it? And how do I get my feet wet without breaking the bank, right? So I think that's awesome. So how did this all start? How did you get started with AltCoin Fantasy?
Yeah, so for us, it was initially a side project of ours. Cynthia and I actually have been working together since 2014. And how we started was we actually went to a lot of hackathons to yeah. So these are hackathons that were 48 hours, and we don't sleep. We eat, but we don't sleep. Lots of Red Bull.
I'm going to share that. It's a new concept we're going to do at SOCO Sales Training now. So Din, Cheng Xuan, Elaine, everyone, the hackathon starts now. 48 hours nonstop.
Yeah.
Ooh, like a sell-a-thon.
Oh yeah, I like that. Yeah, you might not like each other very much at the end because it's quite intense, but anyway.
But you guys are still here 5 years later, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So hackathon, 48 hours.
Yeah. So that was the first one we did, and usually they're not in Vancouver. Usually you go to
Vegas, right?
Vegas and various places, LA, San Francisco, and the idea is you just build a product from scratch.
Wow.
And you have a functional prototype, and you demo that to a panel of judges, and then
at the end of the 48 hours.
At the end of the 48 hours.
Working prototype,
yeah. And then you demo to the judges in hopes of getting the top grand prizes.
And grand prizes usually like some funding or access to a program or cash or a combo or
various things, yeah. So it could be physical prizes. We've had hoverboards, 3D printers.
No way. So you win all these different prizes, and okay, well that's awesome. Okay, so you did that, and then you won a prize of some sort.
Yeah, actually, collectively, I think we won over $100,000 US.
Wow.
Thus far.
And I do want to
see. I knew that, which is why they're now one of our customers. You just got to follow the money trail. Just follow the trail.
You're going to be on our team next time, right?
Yeah. I will try. I think I'll be dead weight though. The selling part I can do. If it was like a sell-a-thon, you hack it and I'll sell it.
Yes, we also need espionage, right? So just get rid of all the other teams.
That could be a new market for us. Corporate espionage. Okay. So that's kind of how it all evolved. So you got noticed, you got a prize.
Yeah, and so we've been working together since for a while.
Yeah.
And this was, I believe, late 2018, early 2018, where we said, you know what? There's a lot of people who are putting money in these ICOs, these token sales.
Initial coin offering for some of you.
Oh, such an expert. Hidden talent.
Yes, more information in the show notes.
And so they didn't know what they're buying into, but they want to get rich. And to us, that was not the right approach to doing things.
Right.
So what we ended up doing was saying, well, why don't we create a game where we use real-time prices for different coins and currencies, and we give them some fictitious amount of US dollars to start with, and basically give them a way to learn about the different projects.
Right, at no risk, right?
At no risk.
I love that. So it's kind of like what we saw, back in the day with these, stock trading platforms, right? Where you could be like, okay, I don't know, and follow John because John kind of does it like this, and you kind of have a similar style, and then when you're ready, hopefully, you you go into the real thing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's right.
Yeah.
So long story short, this started as a mini hackathon project for us, and just trying to expand that a little bit more.
And did you have the idea pre-hackathon, or was it like during the hackathon over some Red Bull and espresso, you're like, AltCoin Fantasy?
It was more that our friends were just going blindly into the space, and they ended up losing a lot of money.
Okay.
So it was more like, well, how can we sort of create a game, a product where we can teach people?
So great. Oh, I love that. So maybe help us understand like the team now. Like, what does AltCoin Fantasy? So you guys started it, right? What does AltCoin Fantasy look like now in terms of like head count and the team? What's that looking like?
So we started, actually it's funny. So there were two of us, and then we added a third person pretty early on. And the way that we found this person was that she was one of our players, and she loved the game. We were doing a user interview. She was winning on the contest, which is why we reached out to her to have an interview. And she was like, I play 12 hours a day, like every spare moment I'm on this thing. And we're like, what are you doing with your life?
You don't have time for a job.
Yeah, like 12 hours is crazy, but it was just so inspiring. And then, she was like, hey, I'd love to help out. Like, it wasn't even on a paid basis. She was like, I just love it so much. I want to help out. And so we ended up hiring her as our first employee. She was really great. Unfortunately, she isn't working with us just she had family issues. So, but she was a great employee. And then now we replaced her with another community manager, and then we have an iOS developer.
Wow.
We also added him pretty recently. Tommy was the only developer for a long time. So, I always joke he was never allowed to sleep. So, now he can sleep for maybe 15 minutes a day.
Right. So joke but not a real joke.
Joke but not a real joke, yeah.
Right.
And then we also have a salesperson in
Fort Worth?
US, Fort Worth,
Yeah.
yep. And then we also have a growth manager in Budapest in Hungary.
Cool.
And then also we recently actually added an intern, same story. So one of our users really loved us, and he reached out and he was like, hey, I really wanted to help you guys out. He actually helped us translate our Spanish translation of our app because he said it sucked.
Wow, okay.
So he was like, no, let me do this for you. Like, I love the game. I want
But
other
he's in
people
Budapest?
No, he's in Mexico.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But is it the guy from Budapest?
No,
or this is a different guy?
person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he's interning for us as like a back-end engineer.
No way.
Yeah. So it's just, we've been really fortunate in our players just, wanting to work with us, and we have
so
people all
great.
the time reach out to say, hey, like, we'll help you do this, and not even expecting any money in returns.
Wow, that's the best kind of employee,
Yeah, exactly,
I think,
the
right?
free
So,
employee.
so there's a lesson for our team as well there. Just do it, just because, right? Anyway, what I love about that, and all kidding aside, I mean, we've had people join our team over the past few years that were fans following us on social media. In fact, that's how Song joined our team. He's been following us on social for quite some time. I was like, wow, I love what you guys do.
He's a SOCO groupie.
He's a SOCO groupie, which is awesome, right? And now he refers to himself as a mini-me, which is not how I refer to him, but that's how he refers to himself, which is kind of endearing. It's fun. And then we've had past customers as well that were sales reps on other teams that joined the team. In fact, one of our trainers in Bangkok, in Thailand, Sasivi, she's a SOCO certified trainer in Bangkok. I trained her team when she worked at Mary France Bodyline, trained about 150 of her reps like 7 years ago. Wow. And then she just joined the team. She was like, I love what you do. So that's that kind of thing is like very exciting because you don't have to sell as much.
It's like the passion, right?
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to hire for passion. You can't replicate that.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about hiring a little bit. So like it sounds like you guys have reps literally all over the world, whether it's Hungary, Mexico, and I'm getting hungry already. I don't know why. I'm hungry for Mexican right now. How about you guys, right? So you got people in Hungary, you got people in Mexico, you got people in the US. You guys are based in Canada, right?
And then Philippines.
And you got someone in the Philippines. So, I mean, a lot of our audience out there are, sales leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs, managing, remote sales teams.
Yeah.
How the heck do you do it?
It's not easy. I'm fortunate enough, just as a backstory to how we got to this point, I was fortunate enough to be a remote developer for about 4 years prior to starting AltCoin Fantasy.
Okay.
And from that experience, I learned a lot about sort of what to look for, what are some of the common pitfalls, what are some of the traits that a person would.
So you were on the other side,
I was
right?
on
You
the
were a
other
remote
side,
worker,
yes.
so that maybe has made it easier for you to, onboard.
Yeah,
remote
exactly.
workers as
And
well.
for myself, it's also been a journey because prior to that, I was working at an office with other people at the same location.
So you've had a lot of experience with like being a remote worker.
Yeah, exactly. And I've actually wrote a few articles about how to become a remote engineer, how to shift your paradigm and thinking as a remote developer. Because to be quite frank, I had trouble too when I was starting to started working remote.
Right.
So for the first year, I actually rented out a co-working desk
Ah, right.
just so I can be away from all the distractions.
Right, like actually in an office
In an
environment,
actual
right?
office, and over time you kind of grow to be more independent.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, we know what to look for, and we try to instill a culture where remote work is embraced.
So what do you guys look for? I think this would be super useful. Like what do you look for in a candidate who wants to join the team and they're going to be remote? Like what are these things? What should we look for? And maybe what are some things to like red flags?
Yeah, so I think one, Cynthia touched on this a little bit, passion plays a big role.
Okay.
You need to be passionate about what you do. A lot of our employees, they don't look at it as a job. They look at it as something, they're building something great. Right? So that's number one.
That's cool.
Secondly, I think being self-aware is important. Knowing when you are most productive and when you're not, and basically having a reflection on that, and making sure that you progress, be more productive. I think that's important as well. So we look for qualities such as whether they have worked in a remote position before, or if they haven't, how they handle remote work while they were in an office, perhaps.
So if they worked in an office, had they ever worked from home,
Right.
For any period of time, and how productive were they, and did it work?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
I think the other things too are that because we are a startup and we want people who are self-starters and motivated, and we don't want to babysit people.
Right.
It's very important for us to look at people who have done projects on the side or built things or researched things, have a lot of different interests. Like they're naturally curious.
Like a side project or a pet project or a hobby,
Yeah,
kind of outside of work,
Yeah,
where they were dedicated to something.
Exactly, because as a startup, you want people who have a lot of different interests. They're able to think independently. They're able to go through the process of researching and building and having the perseverance and dedication to do something like that, because a lot of people don't.
For sure.
And so those are the qualities that are really important to us, because we want someone who we can hire them, they hit the ground running. We don't have to do a ton of training, and we don't have to constantly check in with them.
Right.
They will figure out what they need to know.
So you need people who are pretty adaptable
Exactly.
and self-sufficient, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're pretty flexible. We realize that the huge benefit of remote work is being flexible. So we don't expect that people necessarily, do a check-in, check-out with their time.
Right.
But, if you need to take an hour here, take an afternoon, a day, that's totally fine by us, as long as, the quality of the work is done. And I think that's one thing that's very important to recognize in remote teams is, you can't expect that people are going to put in, 9 hours a day, every single day. You have to be flexible, because that's why they want remote work, right? And you can't, you can't expect that they're going to be in one location.
Right.
So you have to be
And at your
flexible.
beck and call.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's important. And I know, for example, we have a remote worker
Okay.
that works in Vancouver. So we've got a couple of businesses that we own, and that's what brings me to Vancouver quite often. In that other business, we've got a sales rep in Vancouver, and she's, remote, kind of on her own. So, one thing that we want to make sure is that she's supported. So what does that look like? Lots of communication. We're all on Slack, and we're always sharing stuff with each other so that she can really feel part of the team, and not she's a remote worker, but she's just a part of the team that happens to work there, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's important.
Funny you mentioned, we just came back from a company offsite just
Yeah.
today, actually.
Yeah.
And so we brought our employees from the Philippines to Malaysia, and we had a few days where we bonded and did activities.
So what was that like? Had you met that person before?
No, these were both employees met for the first time.
Really?
Yeah.
In person, yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So another sort of takeaway for the audience is if you are thinking of starting something and having a remote team, it's important to bring the team together. Have that FaceTime, every quarter, every 6 months, every year, whatever that may be.
Yeah. You feel more connected, right?
I think it also shows that you're committed and you're making an investment, because as remote workers, especially depending on where they're from, they might not feel that they are as committed to the team because they're physically far away, and so
like, do you see me as an afterthought?
Exactly.
Right?
So by you showing that you're committed and you showing that you're invested, then they feel even more invested because you took the time to actually meet them. I mean, I think that as employers is pretty special as well, right?
Yeah, I think so. Especially in this world where people are so spread apart, to actually make that effort to get that FaceTime is huge. And what we do with our sales rep in Vancouver is like, at least every week we've got like a Zoom call where we're like seeing each other and we're talking and we're going through stuff together and sharing stuff. So it's like you could be anywhere.
Yeah.
It's like you could be just right in the next office, but just for her to feel so connected is like so important, And she feels supported, not alone. Hey?
For sure.
Wow. So that's great, guys. I've got a question for you. What's it like, or what has it been like, selling in this cryptocurrency space? I mean, this is very new. So what's it like selling something to people who maybe don't exactly know what the heck it is?
Yeah.
What's that been like?
So it's been interesting for sure. I mean, I don't come from a sales background, but yeah, I think preparation is just really, really key, and understanding sales.
I love that, right? So for any of you out there, and there's always people in our audience that are in a new space, and we hear it all the time. Like a lot of our customers say, "Okay, I get it, but logistics is tough." Right? or I get that, but hospitality is a whole different beast. Like every industry has this thing, right? Which is true. Right. Oh, I love that. Snowflakes. But the reality is there are some fundamentals, right? And like knowing your customer and focusing on what's most important to them and their goals. What do they hope to achieve? And then making that link between their goals and like, you'll be happy to know that this solution will actually help you achieve that goal in maybe a way you never thought of before. It could be exciting, something fresh and new too, right?
Because you own the product, you know the product. So, if you expect them to try and make that connection or know how you're going to provide value, I mean, that's your job.
I love that. Yeah, for sure. Who was the first person to say, let's get a sales rep?
I think it was probably me.
Yeah?
Because it was getting.
Because you were in that role kind of.
I was in that
before.
role. There was a lot going on, and to Tommy's point, I think that when you're a small team, you have to look at what is going to drive the most value of your time.
Right.
And so, not to say that.
Like where do you need to be for this company to grow, right?
Yeah. So I felt like there were other things that were hard for me to replicate or find someone to do.
Right.
But sales was something that we could
3D
hire.
printer.
Yeah. Clone myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I think it is really hard to figure out sometimes that point. And, it's tough because you don't want to hire too early, but you also don't want to hire too late.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of what I hear is it's always important. It's useful to hire before you absolutely need it. Like before everything has fallen apart. And if you're doing all the sales and it's just like, oh my God, like half of the opportunities are falling through the cracks and I'm missing this and I'm missing that, maybe I should hire a rep to help me. It's sort of like, okay, well, that's a good time. But preemptively is also really good too, right? But we all know it's not easy. I mean, I've hired sales reps and worked with people, and it's tough finding the right person, number one, and how do we know they're the right person, and then onboarding them, and am I giving them all the support that they need? And it's a lot of work to manage a new hire. I mean, a lot of us hope that we hire a new person, they're like, done. Sales handled. And it's like, well, no, now I've replaced that time of selling with now I'm managing.
Yeah.
And for a while. But once you get that system going and the processes going, that's how we grow. And then you see how that system's working, then you hire another rep. Right? Cool. So what final piece of advice could you guys give to small business owners, entrepreneurs, sales leaders and managers around, I don't know, kind of how to manage a team and grow your business? If there's like one piece of advice that you would want to share with people.
So for me, I think that, managing a remote team, especially as a startup, you're doing so many different and new things that you've never done before. So one, and we've talked about this, is hire the expertise to help you in an area that you don't know about. So, with you guys, neither of us come from sales background. So we hired you because obviously you're an expert in sales, and obviously.
Thank you.
So, that was really helpful for us. And like you said before, it really 10x's your growth and your learning, right? Because you can learn it on your own, but it'll take you God knows how long.
Right. How long can it take you to learn that? And do you have the bandwidth to do that?
Yeah, and it's just, time is money. And so the faster you learn, the more successful your business will be.
So I love that. So kind of like, hiring the talent and the skills that you don't have, right?
Yeah,
and then you focus on the things that you're great at. Okay, cool. I love that.
So I think for me, because I come from the engineering side, I think what really helped us was checking in from an engineering perspective with the sales team to see what people are asking for,
right,
and basically relay that to the engineering team. Because a lot of times when you look at bigger startups, the sales and the engineering, they don't talk, and so there could be gaps where there could be killer features where people are asking for, but it's not been relayed to the product. It's not been done, and so the engineering team needs to sort of liaison with the sales team, and so that we found pretty helpful. And that
was pretty good, right? Yeah.
And when we jump on calls, and having a sales engineer on the call, that helps the sales engineer understand sort of what people are looking for.
I love that.
So it makes a difference, and I think bridging the gap between the two functions is helpful.
That's a great piece of advice. And I've had the opportunity to work with these guys and coach one of their sales reps, like on Zoom calls, and listen in onto calls and to give feedback. We've had Tommy from kind of the product side, like there, as well as a sales rep. And it's super useful because then you guys get to hear, like, what are those conversations like with prospects on the phone, right? And then you can also, from a technical standpoint, give some tips or input to the sales guys, right? So it kind of goes well together. And quite often organizations, you got sales, product team, marketing, and no one knows what the heck is going on. They're all kind of doing their own thing, but to kind of have that synergy is so important. Oh, I love that. Cool. Well, thank you so much, guys. So how do we get a hold of you? If people want to reach out to you, altcoinfantasy.com. They could probably check out the Google Play Store as well.
iOS.
We're
on all social media channels, and then you can reach out to either of us on LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks so much.
All right. Take care, guys. Thanks.